Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Just wanted to do a quick walk around video of my 2023 Honda Civic Sport Hatchback 6-speed manual, as this is probably the cleanest the car will ever be in its entire life. So recently what I had done is Hexus Body Fence X on the front hood and the front bumper, and after that cured and sat for a couple weeks, I just had the rest of the car ceramic coated in Feynlab Ceramic Ultra, which is supposed to be a 5-year coating. So yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a walk around and a look at a bunch of different angles of this car as the sun sets here. The Sonic Gray is a really beautiful color in the way it changes kind of its brightness depending on the sunlight. It's definitely one of those colors that, depending on how the light hits it, looks like a totally different car depending on the day. But obviously with the Sport, we're going to look down here at the kind of little bit of a lip built into the front bumper. I kind of do like the way that it looks like it has fog lights, even though it doesn't. Honda could have chosen to put a black, plastic cover there. Instead, it's a nice reflective glass cover, so it doesn't make the car look any cheaper by not having the fog lights. So I will say that's a nice touch. So I've owned cars with fog lights before, and I've rarely ever turned them on, so it doesn't really bother me that I don't have the fog lights. Of course, all the cars get the very, very nice LED headlights. An overall front end look at the car. Really like the way the 11th gen looks. I was never really interested in upgrading from my 8th gen Civic to this until I saw the 11th gen come out. The 9th gen and the 10th gen really didn't do anything for me, so I was totally content staying with the 8th all this time. But I really think Honda did a great job with the wheel and tire package for such a low cost trim. These are the 18-inch by 8 wheels, 235/40/18 tires on it, so pretty big wheel on a Honda Civic these days, but I think the design of it is very simple and clean. I love the fact that it's all black, and if it was kind of more of a matte black, I wouldn't mind. It is tough to keep these glossy black wheels clean all the time, but they do look really, really good when they are clean. SI obviously comes with bigger brakes up front, so with these 18-inch wheels, I will say these rotors, the size of the rotors that come on the Sport, do look a little undersized, but if you went down to 17-inch wheels with an aftermarket wheel on this, I'm sure it would look much more at home. Another thing I do love about the Civic Hatchback Sport is that the hatchback gets this really nice looking side skirt. Both pieces are plastic, so this painted Sonic Gray piece is plastic and this black matte finish is plastic, but the way it goes down alongside the car, really, really nice accent that the sedan does not get. So a little bit sportier look on the hatchback. Of course, you got your color matched door handles. I'm not really a huge fan of the gloss black mirrors, but it doesn't really bother me. I wouldn't really, it's considered sportier if they're gloss black, but I wouldn't really mind if they were Sonic Gray as well. The car does have splash guards, OEM splash guards, and in addition, you've already seen it's got the black Honda OEM lug nuts with the black wheel locks on there. Taking a look at different angles of the back. If you've seen my recent videos, you'll know that I installed an OEM Honda duckbill spoiler from Europe. That's off the Civic e-HEV hybrid. Here's a look at it from the rear. I think it really finishes out the rear of the car nicely without being too obnoxious. The HPD wing that Honda offers in the US, a little too much for my taste. Still looks good, but looking at this car from the rear, I think the lip is much cleaner of a look than the HPD spoiler. Looking down here, of course, you don't have cutouts with the exhaust coming through or anything, and you have a single exhaust on the Sport, which has the K20 engine. But I thought that it was going to bother me more than it really does, because I've always liked the way Honda did their exhaust finishers and stuff on their sporty models. Like the sedan has a really nice tip on it. SI and the Sport sedan have a nice exhaust tip out the rear. I don't know why they couldn't have done that on the hatchback too. I think it would have looked a little better, but you get this really nice diffuser on the Sport model. Really, really clean look to the rear end of this car. It's just another look at that duckbill spoiler. Paint matched perfectly to the car. It's an OEM Honda part, Sonic Gray, so couldn't be happier with how that looks on the car. If you want to learn more about that or learn how to install it, check out my channel. I have a full DIY install on how to install that. pretty in-depth, so no questions left unanswered with that one. And of course, if you have any questions about the car, drop me a comment, guys. I'm very active on here and will respond to each and every one of you to the best of my ability. But let me know what you guys think. You know, for an MSRP of, you know, when I got this after destination, after the upcharge for the paint, $27,400, and you got to add tax and stuff on there. It's probably the next best color to lunar silver as far as getting dirty and kind of hiding dirt and grime and still looking somewhat clean when it does get dirty, which is something I was shooting for with a daily driver. My 8th gen, as you guys know, is a silver car, and I've never really washed it much. It's been neglected, and it still looks pretty good 13 years later. And I'm hoping this car will have the same upkeep. Lots of reports online of the 11th gen Civic's paint being very thin and super easy to rock chip just from normal driving. There's 450 miles on it right now. I just took the opportunity, since I didn't pay a dime over the crazy markups dealerships are charging, and treated myself a little bit with the Hexus Body Fence X on the hood. That's a piece that was laid over in bulk and then trimmed. It's wrapped around the front and then cut clean on the rear. And the front bumper piece was a pre-cut piece that he put on. Did a very, very good job. If you guys want to know pricing, so the ceramic coating for the car, had a friend of mine do it. He does it kind of on the side. He's certified through Feynlab. He did it for 600 bucks in my driveway. So that was really, really cool. And the PPF up front ran me for the hood and just the front bumper. I didn't get the fenders. So those have ceramic coating on them right now, but no PPF. But the nice thing about this car is when you look at it from the front, the fenders are not even exposed for rock chips. So those were an extra $700 to add on to the PPF price if I wanted to get them PPF. So I saw no reason to spend extra $700 on the fenders. But the hood was $600, and then the bumper added an extra $500. So it was $1,100 for the hood in the front, and then the ceramic coating, you're at about $1,800 for this whole car. Fresh off the lot, pretty well protected. You know, gonna stay clean with that 5-year ceramic coating on there for quite a while. Makes it super easy to wash the car. We got a similar product put on my wife's CRV when we bought that 2 years ago. I think that was an IGL 5-year coating. It still seems to be doing okay. They did tell me though that this stuff, the Feynlab Ceramic Ultra that they put on this car, is a much better sauce. So looking forward to seeing how that holds up. You can definitely tell there's still a coating on the CRV, but it's definitely not as hydrophobic still after 2 years as I expected it to be. So we'll see how this one holds up. We'll keep you guys updated. Quick look inside the interior. Nothing too fancy. I'm not a huge fan of like the two-tone. It's kind of a weird look to me. Also not a huge fan of how it's all just hard plastic up to the edge of where your back would sit. Old Civics weren't like that. The back seat actually came all the way out. I'll talk about that more in detail in my dislikes video that's going to drop. Pretty basic back seats. That's totally fine with me. Interior, pretty nice in this car. If you've seen the videos on my channel, I did rant a little bit about how I think it's fancier looking, but much less practical than the older Civics. There's a lot they took away from you that you may not notice, because when you sit in this thing, it feels like you're in a much higher end car than a Civic, because it does look really, really nice with the refreshed interior. But from a practicality standpoint, they definitely took some niceties away from you. So if you haven't seen that video, check it out in the description. Here's just a look from the passenger side. Nothing too crazy going on. Very clean and simplistic look. Here's a quick look at the engine bay. If you see my previous videos, you know I talk about how much room there is for activities in here. I really like that about this generation, with how much space you have in the engine bay to work with here. It's not nearly as cluttered as the 8th gen was, so you can kind of see where your thermostat housing is and the major components you want to access, like your slave cylinder for clutch fluid bleeds, your slave bleeders right there, right in the open, the headers right there. Alternator works totally accessible. AC compressor you can get to very, very easily from the top of the car. I know that with my 8th gen SI, good luck trying to get to it from the top of the car unless you started removing the alternator and stuff. Coolant overflow tank right there. Kind of an interesting design with the engine mount, but everything just looks so clean. I do really like this coolant tube here. It's like this burnt titanium look to it from the factory. It's got like a bluish greenish tint to this tube here. I think it looks really, really nice in there. Hopefully it doesn't rust out after too many winters here, because this car will be getting driven through the winter and full force in New York State here. So one other thing I'll comment on is, I just noticed this the other day. This is a really nice design on the factory intake for this car. So you come here right from the throttle body, you have your air filter, and then your inlet is right here, but it's got this area on top of it that seals to this rubberized piece on the hood. So when the hood closes, it totally locks in this channel to seal it to a scoop that comes straight through the front bumper and feeds. You're not gonna be able to see it much probably, but right here is the inlet for the intake, right behind the grill there. So that's like a ram air slash super cold air intake right from the factory. And of course there is a super large like resonator box below here. Maybe a nice mod would be to remove that and cap that off somehow to get a little more intake noise. But from the factory, the Honda engineers really did a good job with this one as far as like creating a true cold air intake for this generation. And you know, there's no worries about hydrolock with the air coming up over the hood here and feeding into the filter area. So I think that's really, really cool, and I wanted to point that out. But overall, I think this engine's gonna last a very long time. It's good to be back daily driving a K20. So this is the K20 C2, as you see there. You're not going to want to buy this car and expect straight line speed out of it. That's not what it's about. It's about being reliable, being responsive, and being fun on your commute. And don't expect anything more than that. Expect it to last a very long time. Throw 87 octane in it. Port injected fuel injectors on the rear, so you're never going to have to worry about direct injectors failing. No high pressure fuel pump. Already got one 1.5T to worry about. I don't want to have two of them to worry about. So this is going to be the worry-free car, and I'm really excited to put miles on this thing. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Let me know what you guys think of the car. I still think it's one of the best cars you can get for the money in 2023. You know, prices have gone up so much on these new cars. It's amazing that we are paying $30,000 out the door after taxes and everything for pretty much a base model Civic these days. But that's the reality, and I can tell you one thing, it's not going to get any cheaper over time with the way inflation just keeps rolling on here. So get them while you can. Honda's gonna probably trying to be squeezing their profits here as things get tighter and tighter, and they're probably gonna be dropping manual transmissions on the lower trim Civics. Don't have any proof of that. I've said it before in my videos, and I'll say it again. As the push towards electrification continues, it's gonna be hard to find these cheap and reliable cars that are fuel efficient and just are a really nice package as a daily driver. So thanks guys for watching. As always, let me know what you think in the comments. Give the video a thumbs up. I'll see you in the next one.